Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Food School Smarter, Stronger, Leaner podcast on a mission to change the way the world eats. My name is Angela Shurina. I'm a certified nutritionist, health, nutrition, brain performance, productivity coach, and just someone with a lot of passion and love for helping you guys to learn how to use nutrition as a precise tool to feel, look, and do your absolute best. Today, guys, it's one of those episodes when I'm going to share a part of my life and solution to my own challenges, with the purpose, of course, for you to use the same tools when you're in a similar situation. You know, when we share our specific details of our life and solutions that we figure out, very often a lot of people can resonate that and can apply these solutions, maybe changed a little bit, to their life. And that's how collectively we learn as humanity. You know, and that's why I'm actually so excited and grateful for our internet and connectivity and social media and all these different platforms where when you want it, you can learn so much from people from all over the world, all kinds of business owners and leaders and nutrition and health professionals, right? If the purpose that you use internet and social media for is one of those purposes is education, there's never been that much opportunity. Like this podcast, you know, I can share it with so many people by just speaking to a microphone and then uploading it to a cloud, to your platform. Being anywhere in the world, you can tune in. I'm in Mexico right now. You might be in Singapore, in Japan. I do have some listeners there. You might be in US, you might be in Russia, in Ukraine, in UK, in United Emirates, Arabic United Emirates, anywhere. I have listeners in a lot of countries, mostly because I travel to so many countries. So now back to practicality. Over the weekend, I traveled to the other coast of Mexico, to the city, to a place called Puerto Vallarta or Vallarta. I think Vallarta is the right pronunciation. That's what I heard from native speakers. To meet new friends, new people, amazing community of entrepreneurs and professionals who are mission-driven, all about meaning and deep connections, and just smart, amazing people. That's all I can tell you. And I had two flights. One was hour and a half. The other one was like 2.5 hours. So quite a trip. The connection was really short and fast. So it actually was pretty good. On the way there, I did not pay enough attention to my salt intake. I drink a lot of water, like, 3-4 liters. When I travel, I always drink a ton of water. But I still sometimes fail to pay attention to my salt intake. And let me explain to you why it matters. I'm a very clean eater if I were to give myself a label, meaning there is no processed foods, there are no snacks, nothing basically that contains sodium, salt, outside of natural foods that usually do not provide that much to stay optimally hydrated. That's why, for example, animals in the wild would lick salty stuff or find a way to upgrade their salt intake on the top of, whole foods that they eat. So I didn't pay attention to my sodium intake. I ate some fruits, some nuts, some yogurt, obviously very low sodium foods. But I drank a lot of water, and I still felt thirsty. And so by the end of the day, I developed a headache, and for me, it's kind of funny. It's like on the one side in front of my head. Like that always happens when I forget about salt. And I had this headache, and starting in the evening, I started to consume more and more salt. I would go to the kitchen, down to the kitchen. There was staff, and they were taking care of food and everything, and they had really good sea salt. So I would come downstairs and just have like a big pinch of sea salt, natural sea salt with water. I also asked them for an avocado, for potassium, and I'm gonna tell you why that is also important. So I would go downstairs, and every like hour until I went to bed, I would ask for salt, and the staff was kind of surprised. And I think by the end of the second date, they started to look into salt with like interest. Why is this woman who is healthy and super fit consumes so much salt? Right. So the headache disappeared by the end of the day, and the next day, when in the evening I had to fly back, I started to consume salt earlier. Like from the morning, I'm like big pinch of salt with every glass of water I would drink. And traveling back and coming back home, I did not have any headaches. So I had quite a few experiences that when my salt intake goes low, I would develop that same headache at the same spot in my head, like to the left, somewhere in the front. It's weird, like it's the spot. I don't know if that's the same for other people. My mom also, when travels, she says the same thing, like I have this headache, and I explain to her why that is happening. And, sometimes I forget to apply this advice to my own self. So, salt. And hydration. Why salt is important? Well, I don't know, guys, if you knew or not, but in order to use the liquids that we consume, the water and, liquids from other stuff like eating fruit and veg or drinking other drinks like teas or coffees or having water in our foods, like in order to use liquids, the body needs salt and potassium to maintain optimal hydration inside of our cells and in our blood and in extra fluids outside of our cells. Our body needs the balance of sodium and potassium, and many nutrition experts say that probably your salt and potassium intake should be equal. So if you consume, let's say, 5 grams of salt, then probably you should shoot for 4 or 5 grams of potassium. And so in order for you to stay hydrated, just plain water, it is not enough. And that's why, for example, if you fast, you might experience things like feeling lightheaded or fatigue or not being able to concentrate. Actually, a lot of times, if you have a healthier blood sugar regulation and healthy metabolism, it has nothing to do with your energy levels or your calories intake. It actually, because all of us carry more than enough fat usually to last for like days and days. What happens is you have electrolyte balance because you're not taking any salt or potassium or other electrolytic minerals like calcium, for example. But salt and potassium specifically, they tend to have this acute effect. As soon as you start having not enough, you start feeling off. Like even with mild dehydration, 1-2%, that is literally nothing. Easy to achieve that just by exercising for like 30 minutes or sweating in sauna. Also really easy way to dehydrate yourself. So even 1-2% of dehydration can causes things like mental and physical fatigue, not being able to concentrate, foggy thinking, your speed of processing of information, your fast thinking, fast decision making, figuring things out, especially complex things, it goes down dramatically. Your acuity, your accuracy, working on complex tasks for a lot of people also, it would be an anxiety. You might feel lightheaded. You might experience that, sensation when you stand up and you feel like fainting. That has more often than not, especially if your blood pressure is also okay, blood sugar, blood pressure, that has to do with your hydration status and not balancing out these two electrolytes, sodium and potassium. For me, again, since I eat a lot of unprocessed foods, on that day I ate a lot of fruit, bananas, guavas, some apples that I found at the airport. I ate yogurt, nuts and seeds, again, potassium, especially in fruit, quite a lot, but sodium, there was like very little naturally occurring sodium. So I got this headache. Usually when I go low on potassium, when I might consume sodium with water and no potassium, like, no fruit, no nothing, no vegetables, I would experience fatigue and lightheadedness more. And for different people, I believe a little bit different. But what I do notice is that fatigue and lightheadedness, more often than not, it has to do with potassium, and things like headaches have more to do with sodium inadequacy. And usually people who are more on the clean eating side, right? You consume naturally a lot of whole foods, packaged snacks, packaged foods, canned foods, foods that you eat out, meals and foods. If you consume very little to none, like I do, you might be at some points running low on sodium. And also how that can manifest, you might feel, again, mentally and physically fatigued while working out. You might not be able to push it because you simply lack sodium. Like for me, I work out fasted in the morning, but I always, before my workout, have a pinch of salt with my water because hydration is more important than actually having any sorts of breakfast or food in your stomach. So that's what I do. And, during my travel, I just, again, was brought back by my own silliness to the fact that sodium is important, and I need to pay attention while drinking lots and lots of water to sodium and potassium as well. While traveling, what I would try to do, bananas, you can find them somewhere like Starbucks or some cafe, usually a good way to update your potassium levels, easy to eat. In bananas, there is a lot of potassium, but also in general fruit, like, plums, apples, what are some other fruits? Yeah, any kinds of fruit and berries, they usually have quite a good amount of potassium. On the vegetable side, also avocados have a lot of potassium, I think even more than bananas. On the low carb side, you have different kinds of mushrooms. On the not so low carb side, you have also potatoes, lentils. Like if you find these are great sources of potassium. And if you find meals like that, probably there is some sodium at the airport. But again, what I usually do, and from now on, I'm going to be paying more attention to eating bananas, taking them with me, very convenient way to get a lot of potassium. And then having that salt, like a pouch of salt, of sea salt or Himalayan salt with me, and consume that with my bananas. Literally, that's what I would do sometimes. I would eat my banana and eat some salt with it, kind of like salty bananas. And then drink a lot of water. That's how you achieve optimal hydration status. Now, if you are a person who consumes more meals out, especially while traveling, maybe salty snacks like salty nuts, maybe you consume some packaged snacks and bars and foods, and again, you have meals out while traveling or, in your life not traveling, but you do not eat a lot of fresh fruit and vegetables or lentils and beans and potatoes, you might be low on potassium, and that again will not allow you to maintain optimal hydration status, and that can manifest as feeling lightheaded, not excited about anything, not pumped to do a lot of things, mental fatigue, maybe a little bit of headache, maybe anxiety. Like a lot of things can go wrong when your potassium and sodium balance is just not balanced. And again, there are two patterns that I noticed with people I work with, people I know. You are either on the side of eating super clean and your sodium goes down and you might develop headache like I usually do, or you might be lower on potassium if you eat a lot of foods out, a lot of salty snacks, a lot of processed foods, and mildly or very heavily processed, like canned foods can be lightly processed, like maybe canned beans. There is sodium and quite a lot of it, but the food itself not that heavily processed and quite good for you actually, right? So if you are on a side of processed foods, packaged foods, canned foods, then you might be consuming enough sodium, but maybe you are low on potassium. Maybe you are in a keto low carb group and you don't eat a lot of plants in general. So that's why you might have a lot of sodium, but not enough potassium. So that's, another dietary pattern. Maybe you are on a low carb diet and a keto and there are not as many sources of potassium. Maybe you are reducing your vegetables also a lot, right? Things like spinach, actually, Brussels sprouts, broccoli have quite a lot of potassium. But if you don't eat a lot of plant material in general, you might be lower in potassium. It might be also, so your water balance in your body going to be disturbed. You might retain water actually because of that. What also potassium, because potassium pushes water out of your cells, right? And so when you don't have enough of that, you might be kind of like puffy because you just don't have enough potassium. That's why, for me, when I eat a lot of bananas, actually so much water is flushed out that I get so leaner, like all of my muscles get a little bit of glycogen, they get a little bit pumped, and plus a lot of liquid is flushed out of my cells. So bananas make me look very lean. If I eat like a bunch of bananas one evening, the next day usually I look much leaner, like I lost a bunch of weight. That's just what, these electrolytes do. They change your water balance without you having to, again, worry about calories, carbs, or whatever. In a low carb keto diet, you might be lowering potassium. You might feel also like kind of a little bit stressed, a little bit tense. That's what I noticed with my clients and myself. When you're lower on potassium, your blood pressure might be going up because potassium lowers your blood pressure. And yes, that's what I wanted to share with you guys. So to maintain optimal hydration and optimal brain productivity, brain performance, physical and mental performance, actually, you need to make sure that you do drink enough water. Also usually the more water-rich foods like fruit and veg you eat, the less kind of drinking water and drinking liquids you need. Also, all liquids do hydrate you to a degree. Like if you consume a lot of teas, if you consume a lot of soups or smoothies, or coffee also is hydrating. It is not dehydrating. Like it makes you pee a little bit more, but not as much as the amount of liquid you consume in coffee. So optimal performance, optimal hydration it's not just about liquids. It's also about those two electrolytes that help to maintain optimal balance, water balance in your blood, in your cells. So what you want to do, you kind of want to balance them out. And I usually just do that by consuming at least 1 kilo of different fruit and vegetables. And then on top of that, like a teaspoon of sea salt, somewhere around that, like I salt my food. I have pinches of salt while drinking water, especially if you drink a lot of stuff like, caffeine, you probably do want to add a little bit of salt before that big cup of coffee. So a teaspoon of salt, just salt your food, eat a lot of plants and, beans and potatoes and fresh fruit. Again, very high sources of potassium, bananas, avocados, button mushrooms. We have plums and apricots, fresh ones. We also have, against potatoes, beans, we have spinach, Swiss chard is quite high in potassium, Brussels sprouts and broccoli, all these plant material are quite great sources of potassium. And palm hearts, guys, low in calories, low in carbs, higher in minerals like zinc, and quite high in potassium as well. I usually get them canned. It's very hard to find them fresh. But palm hearts, amazing source of potassium. More than bananas and avocados, like they're amazing. That's it, guys. If you have any questions about hydration, if you do experience these things being a little bit brain fogged, hard to think, hard to concentrate, mental and physical fatigue, lightheaded, headaches on one side of your head or maybe on the other too, proper hydration, electrolyte balance might be an issue. There are also all kinds of electrolyte solutions. Make sure that you're not consuming a bunch of sweeteners with that, because a lot of researchers on gut health really doubt any kind of sweeteners, artificial or natural, like stevia and monk fruit, right? So I do not recommend you to consume any sweeteners on a regular basis. Sometime from time to time, not a big deal, but making it part of your routine in big amounts, probably not a great idea for your gut, because your gut knows everything, like what you consume in what amounts, and we still don't know how exactly it's going to affect your gut microbiome long term. So that's on the side of electrolyte supplements. And that is for today, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. If you have questions, please reach out. Instagram is the best way to reach out at 1000 year young. And till next time, as usual, hydrate and eat better daily.